through the neighborhood. Mr. Kotal was a grandfather who was in Madison, Alabama to visit family members. One of the officers slammed him to the ground so hard he left Mr. Kotal. The officer was charged with third-degree assault and felony civil rights abuse. That same month, there was police in Pasco, Washington, who shot an unarmed man who had been throwing rocks at them. They shot Antonio Zambrano Montes 17 times. As Mr. Zambrano Montes ran away from them. 17 times. Mr. Zambrano Montes was killed. No one has been charged. Last month in Inkster, Michigan, a man named Floyd Dent came forward to say that he'd been pulled over and beaten by local police in Inkster. He was beaten very badly, left with a fractured eye socket and broken ribs. It all happened to him in January, but the tape of his beating has been playing on a loop in the Detroit area since it surfaced just a few weeks ago. Last week, one of the officers in Inkster was charged with felony mistreatment of a prisoner, and the charge against Mr. Dent was erased. Just today, we got video of officers in the Inkster station house appearing to try to spray Floyd Dent's blood off their clothes and their hands. And then the officers exchanged fist bumps, apparently celebrating how well that arrest and that beating went for them. An attorney for Mr. Dent says his client was actually at that moment lying there, still bleeding, still needing urgent medical attention, just out of view of the camera, as the officers blew off steam and reenacted the arrest and the beating for each other. The beginning of this month brought news of the shooting death of unarmed Walter Scott in North Charleston, South Carolina. That confrontation also began with a seemingly anodyne traffic stop that ended with the officer firing multiple times at Mr. Scott's back as Mr. Scott fled across a vacant lot. He shot him as he ran away. The officer in that case has been charged with murder. As the nation was absorbing that news, who came from Tulsa, Oklahoma, someone holding the title of Reserve Deputy in the Tulsa Sheriff's Department had shot and killed a suspect in an undercover drug sting. The Reserve Deputy, a 73-year-old insurance executive, says he meant to draw his taser, but he mistakenly pulled his gun instead, and he shot Eric Harris in Tulsa. Robert Bates, the Reserve Deputy, had been a long-time generous donor to the Sheriff's Department. It seems to be the way to get a Reserve Deputy position. Tulsa supervisors in the Tulsa Sheriff's Office had falsified the training records of Mr. Bates. Allegedly, this appeared to be qualified for certain duties when he was not. Last week, Robert Bates, the Reserve Deputy, pled guilty to a charge of manslaughter in that case. But then the judge in the case allowed him to go to the Bahamas for a family vacation before any further proceedings. Today in Tulsa, a top official in that sheriff's department resigned after an internal memo surfaced that showed him asking staffers to modify the reserve deputy's reviews and records about hours of training. That high-ranking official stepped down today in Tulsa. Meanwhile, the Tulsa Sheriff's Department also inexplicably released undercover video showing a man who got killed in the days leading up to the day they shot and killed him. They released this video showing Eric Harris selling drugs to an undercover officer before making an arrangement to sell him a gun. Why did they release that tape? The day of the shooting does not seem to be relevant specifically to the reason this reserve deputy pulled out his gun when he thought he was pulling out his taser. The Sheriff's Department in Tulsa said they released the video because the media had asked for it, which could conceivably be true of anybody who existed, but it also looks a lot like what happened in Ferguson, Missouri last summer when the police chief in Ferguson released video of 18-year-old Michael Brown from before the incident in which Michael Brown was shot and killed. Tape of a totally unrelated incident in a convenience store that happened before he was killed and at which the officer who killed him was not present. The chief said the media had been clamoring for that convenience store tape and he couldn't continue to withhold it. Even though in Ferguson there does not appear to be much record at all that anyone to see that tape. They just put it out there to try to make Michael Brown look as terrible as possible. We have been living this story over and over and over month after shooting after chokehold after beating. And this list that I just did is not by no means complete. Just pick a calendar month and Google around and pops a story and increasingly a video of police violence mostly involving a man who is not day after day, season after season, city after city. And now Baltimore. What you are seeing in this American city is the biggest and difficult viewing, but it does go some distance to explaining what happened. April 12th, the show runs.
Sure, activate taser. I'm like that. Man, I've been recording this. I've been recording. What car did you buy up, bro? Go right there. Got it. Don't worry about it.
The officers who arrested Freddie Gray in Baltimore say that he saw them and took off running. That's why they came chasing him, stopping him. They loaded him into the van. As you saw, he seems to be screaming in pain. Whatever happened over the next 45 minutes, Freddie Gray emerged from that van across town at the police station with his spinal cord reportedly severed and his voice box crushed. One theory is that the Baltimore police may have given Mr. Gray what they call a rough ride, where they leave a suspect handcuffed, not buckled in, and then they stomp on the brakes, and the suspect goes flying around the back of the van. More than one person has ended up paralyzed that way in Baltimore before Freddie Gray.
Sub-Zero wins.
Freddie Gray ended up paralyzed and in a coma. And on April 19th, a week after he was arrested, Freddie Gray died. In the days after his death, Baltimore saw a string of mostly peaceful protests as people came out chanting in the streets, Black Lives Matter. The larger protests on Saturday did include some vandalism, some violence. 35 people were arrested. 6 police officers reportedly incurred minor injuries. But mostly city authorities were able to keep the peace without using force and without taking people into custody. This is how the mayor of Baltimore described things on Saturday night.
We've had these types of conversations before, and I made it very clear that I worked with the police and instructed them to do everything that they could to make sure that the protesters were able to exercise their right to free speech.
Oh no!
It's a very delicate balancing act, because while we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on, we also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. And we worked very hard to keep that balance and to put ourselves in the best position to de-escalate. And that's what you saw this evening.
That's what you saw this evening. That was Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake speaking to the mayor, the police chief, and Freddie Gray's family, and local leaders all calling for calm, appealing for peace. And today in Baltimore, they buried Freddie Gray. Making calls for people not to protest on this day. Same kind of calls that we've seen in other stories like this. Mr. Gray's funeral began in the late morning. They buried him out at the New Shiloh Baptist Church right in Baltimore. It's a huge church, 2,200 people capacity. It was filled to capacity, and then the standing room was filled, and then people stood outside. The church is near schools and a mall. And school let out today after the funeral. This is what happened. Local leaders on the ground tonight in Baltimore say these clashes with police began when the school let out, and the kids all fled into the streets all at once. Whatever part of this might have been a peaceful protest, people also set cars on fire, they smashed a police cruiser, they looted stores, they hurled things at police, and responded in some cases by appearing to hurl things back, and in some cases to hurl bullets. Among the 15 officers who the mayor and the police chief of Baltimore told us tonight were reportedly injured today, 15 officers. One was reported this afternoon to be non-responsive, to be unconscious. But again, we're told that 2 officers remain in the hospital tonight. We do not have more information about their status right now, other than the fact that they are hospitalized. The governor of Maryland, Andrew Morgan, has declared a state of emergency. He's activated the National Guard. The city curfew will be in effect for a week starting tomorrow. Nobody allowed on the streets between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. except in the case of a medical emergency or if you are going to work. Even as the looting continues tonight, the mayor in the last hour pledged that order would be restored.
With respect to how to be clear, the council president and I share the frustration of the negative images that are being shown of our great city. But best believe we're going to do all of those images, some of the those who are destroying our city accountable. So, once people start getting arrested for the looting, for the destruction, I think they will understand that this is not a lawless city. And the thugs and
wins.
I'm at a loss for words because it just doesn't, it is idiotic to think that by destroying your city, that you're going to make life better for anybody.
Baltimore speaking earlier tonight. I just want to follow up something that we've been showing earlier. There are reports of fires burning in the city of Baltimore tonight. I'm in this large one that you can see on the right side here right now. The WBAL chopper pilot, WBAL NBC affiliate in Baltimore, the chopper pilot says that they are told by a police source that this large fire that you see here is a senior facility that was under construction that is burning. Are not thought to be any injuries associated with this fire. There are reports that there are multiple fires burning in Baltimore tonight, whether or not they are related to the protests that have happened in the streets, the clashes between protesters and police, some of which have been violent today. Obviously, another huge challenge for the first responders of Baltimore tonight. Part of what we have seen today is fire department, firefighters being having a very hard time getting on site to respond to car fires and property fires that have been part of these protests. It is indeed an unrelated fire tonight that happens to just be happening in the middle of this other state of emergency. It's just not much of a challenge for first responders on the scene, regardless of the cause of this fire and whether it is connected to these political protests. I want to bring into the conversation now Eric Green, Marcus of Baltimore, of Baltimore all day. Ms. Green, thanks very much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So can you give me what you see today in terms of the trajectory and where it feels like the momentum is tonight in terms of the continuation of these protests?
Sure. So I started out kind of at the very beginning of how this all transpired. It started with a posting on social media from high school students saying they were going to have a purge, play on the movie The Purge, which was a 24-hour time of lawlessness, and they were going to purge at a law of Baltimore Mall. That indeed happened at around 3 p.m. Students and police confronted each other there. The police were ready for that because they did in a subsequent message earlier in the day. By the time I got there around 3:20, bricks were being hurled at police officers. The crowds, began to swell on both sides. Police were needed for reinforcements. People from the neighborhood, students from other schools, and I say students because, even the police have confirmed that they did confront mostly school-aged kids, and it really was just a really intense hour-long, little more than hour-long exchange where the police were trying to, hold lines and move students back and kids back and probably residents at that point into side streets in the neighborhood. I did witness an officer severely injured. That came as a result of an exchange of bricks and other propellants between the residents and the police. The police did in fact start to return the bricks that were being thrown at them.
Let me just ask you about that for a second. I know that you were right there on the front lines, but now we're right there. And I saw what you posted at the Sun, and it seems you made great use of your wording and your imagery. But just to be clear, what you saw was people throwing, mostly young people, throwing bricks and broken bricks and rocks at police. In some cases, police throwing them back at the protesters. But this officer who you saw injured, it looked like he was struck in the head. Could you just see it or just the aftermath once he was already hurt?
It looks like he was struck in the head. What I captured was his comrades, carrying him back